Please join your palms together and let us greet Reverend Doyeon.
Good morning. Wow. Since 2012, I guess the second year of the One Dharma Center, I have always been here for the Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day weekend retreat, except for the last year, the historical year of 2020. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Lockdowns, mask rules, social distancing, and travel bans, they were all new and somewhat daunting in the beginning, but now some of them became what we call new normal. So millions of people were infected by and lost their loved ones to this novel coronavirus, and many people also lost their jobs. Many people, from kids to elders, had to learn how to mute or share the screen on a Zoom. So 2020 was a tough year, wasn't it? So I can say this now with some sense of relief, thinking that hopefully we went through the worst. And in fact, now we see the COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations continue to decline, and then COVID vaccines are widely available. We see COVID restrictions are lifted. And I'm not saying that we're already done with the COVID. Of course not. As an individuals and as a community, we need to be prudent and responsible to protect and elevate the well-being of ourselves and others. But here we are. I'm so grateful to be back to this beautiful retreat center. When we were planning this retreat, somehow I agreed to give a Sunday talk. And usually the topic of the Sunday talk becomes the topic for the whole weekend retreat. So other 교무님s here asked me, poking me, what's the topic for your talk? And then, actually in no time, resilience came into my mind. I thought it substantially summarizes our experience of the pandemic well, and also it gives us a direction to move forward. And in fact, resilience is an English word that I have over the past couple of years developed an affection for. It's not necessarily a term that's widely used in the Buddhist context. And yet, I think resilience contains the all essential aspects of Buddhist teachings and practices. So here, I will say first, resilience is about a profound understanding and accepting of adversities in life. Being resilient means that you are able to acknowledge, accept, and endure difficulties, misfortunes, or failures in life. Hearing this, anything come to your mind from the Buddhist context? If you are familiar with the Buddhist teachings, you may think of the first noble truth, the truth of dukkha. Dukkha refers to suffering, dissatisfactoriness, anything you call the stress in your daily life. That's what the Buddha meant by dukkha. So Buddha, from his awakened mind, points out that dukkha is inherent to life itself. What do you think? I didn't ask if you believe this or not, because I think it's not about belief, but rather recognition and understanding. So suffering can be characterized by personal challenges like illness, loss of loved ones, job loss, or financial instability. And it can also take the form of shared trauma which we have seen the world experience through terrorist attacks or mass shootings, natural disasters, and of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, there are twists and turns in life one way or another. And I think this is what we all can relate to as we live this life. And has anyone here ever not experienced any pain, suffering, uneasiness, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental? Probably not, right? And that's what the dukkha is about. So in our Dharma practice and life in general, it's critical to understand the nature of life. And think about why is it critical to understand the nature of life, the nature of things? Because with this understanding, we live life. Based on this understanding, we can use things properly. And sometimes in a very simple way, I put it this way. If you put salt in your tea and expect it to be sweet, will your tea ever get sweet? We all know that probably not. We want to put something that has the sweetness if we want to drink sweet tea. If you want to warm up your food, you need to put it into the oven, not the freeze. So see, everything we do is based on the understanding of the nature of things, the nature of life. In the same sense, if we want to live a happy, peaceful life, first of all, we need to know the nature of life so that we can live accordingly. So many wise people, like the Buddha, our founding master Sotaesan, they say, if we understand this inevitable dissatisfactoriness in life, then our efforts should go to the notion of coping rather than denial or resistance. And a well-known mindful expert, the founder of the MBSR program, John Kabat-Zinn, he put it very beautifully in this way. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. So, after 2 decades of practice, I have noticed that I have become less stressed. Not because things got easier or better, of course not. 10 years ago, my life was much simpler. And yet, somehow, I had more frustration. I had more anger back then. My longtime friends, Ginger and June, can tell. I'm not saying that my bad temper was completely disappeared. It comes back at times. But it's not as often as it used to be. And the main reason I am less stressed about life, I think it's because I no longer blame the waves for arising. Meaning that I no longer expect my life to be, without setbacks, without misfortunes. Realizing and embracing obstacles as part of my life gives us great sense of relief. It's almost like surrendering to what is, not in a sense of helpless giving up, but more in a sense of facing what is, so that I can understand clearly what is this about. Then actually I feel more at ease, which is more conducive to better and wiser responses to the given situation. I also got here on Friday afternoon, just like many of you. And I was preparing this talk in the office here. And all of a sudden, there one point in the afternoon, the electricity went out. And thankfully, it came back right away. And one 교무님, Reverend, in the office said, "Oh, it's strange, and it's not stormy or anything," then why did it happen? I guess the weather is bad. I guess this electricity sometimes comes and go out. And I said, like, why not? And both we kind of laughed. And good laugh makes us relaxed and refreshed. So I actually think, this asking why not is very helpful to balance kind of myself. When things go wrong, meaning that when things are not going your way, you may think, why? Why me? Why now? Remember, ask why not? Who says everything has to go your way? It's your delusion. Thinking, wanting, or hoping that things will always go well as you wish, as you plan is delusion. It's our delusion. And we need to let it go as the autumn trees letting go of their falling leaves. Second, resilience is about bouncing back. So when we are swayed by inner or external challenges, we need to get centered and stabilized like a ship finding its equilibrium in the waves. And essentially, our spiritual practice is also about restoring, recovering our original state of mind that is free of judgment, free of attachment, free of selfishness. In our sitting meditation practice, we are constantly bouncing back from wandering thoughts to our calm breath or to your danjeon. In our chanting meditation practice, again, we're coming back from the wandering thoughts to the sound of chanting itself. When we notice greed, hatred, ignorance arising in our day-to-day life, our practice is going back to a state before they arose. Essential dharmas of daily practice we recite here, it's also about bouncing back, from disturbances to concentration, from delusion to wisdom, from resentment to gratitude. So when we say bouncing back, restoring or recovering, it means we are going back to where we were. We are going back to what we truly are. So we say we restore our Buddha nature. Often we say our original nature, our true nature. And it's common understanding that all beings without exception have the same nature and potential for enlightenment, and it's called Buddha nature. Even though we often say we all have Buddha nature, but actually Buddha nature is not something we have. It is actually what we are. So in Won Buddhism, this Ilwon-sang behind me represent our Buddha nature, our original nature. And Master Sotaesan describes it as perfect, complete, utterly impartial, and selfless. In other words, our true nature, our Buddha nature, is already perfect. It's already complete. It's already impartial and selfless. But as we encounter various ups and downs in life, we may get deviated from this original state. So for the Won Buddhist practitioners, this is where we bounce back. This state of Ilwon-sang. And I guess I've been here in this community for long enough that whenever I lose my temper, I literally picture this Ilwon-sang in my mind. And I see myself, am I being whole? Am I being impartial and selfless? So how about you? When you lose your balance, where do you bounce back? Your breath? Maybe you have some special mantra. Maybe you have something very special symbols that has a special meaning to you. Having very specific image, mantra, anything in your mind for your kind of restoring power, I think it's very helpful. So think about it for yourself. When I was a novice in Korea, so in the One Buddhist training, for this monastic training, you have certain period of training as a novice. So I had 2 years of training in Korea. That was right after my high school years. I took a cab with one of my senior teachers, and the cab driver started to talk to us. In the beginning, he seemed very nice, and then he became a little aggressive when he started talking about his views on religion. I guess he realized that we're religious, especially my teacher, religious person. But then his view was more like, religion is a great source of problems. So it wasn't really pleasant conversation. So I was a lot bothered by his remarks and his disrespectful attitude. And I was eager to argue against his opinions. Then, of course, my senior teacher sitting next to me, she stopped at me. And then even after a few hours, I was still carrying the anger from that taxi ride. So I asked my teacher if she was bothered at all. And then she said, yes. I was a little annoyed in the beginning, but soon I came back to my danjeon, and then she was pointing to her lower belly or abdomen. And then stay here, listen through your danjeon, not through your hectic mind, Doyeon. Then you will be able to listen anyone out there and still keep the state of peace. And she added one more line, Doyeon, if you talk to other people with anger and hatred, the other people will also respond to your anger, not to your words. And that's not a skillful communication. So that experience motivated me for more Dharma practice because I was literally experiencing that gap between trained mind versus untrained mind. Some people restore their calm, still mind more quickly, while others tend to take much longer. And that was a clear experience that I saw myself, it took a couple hours, even a couple of days. But then my teacher was like, the seconds. She was like, she got back, right? So I wanted to get that, fast recovering. Third, resilience can be learned and developed. Again, some people tend to be more resilient than others, but still, many research shows that resilience isn't something we either have or do not. It can be learned and developed, and this is where we can find a strong connection to this resilience with our spiritual cultivation. In fact, if you want to learn and develop anything from a simple skill to a great mind power, you need focus, you need awareness, perseverance, and wisdom. And Dharma practice offers principles and tools for them. So what I'm saying is that we are already practicing resilience. First, by understanding the nature of life, accepting all difficulties and challenges in our life. We're not running away. We're gonna face that. And second, by restoring our Buddha nature, understanding that we can be at times distracted, and yet we know where to come back. Third, by practicing this mindfulness awareness. More specifically, I will say mindful eating, mindful moving contribute to your good health, let's say resilient body. Of course, also good sleep. Mindful speaking and deep listening lead you to better relationships. Let's say resilient relationships. Being surrounded by people who share the same vision of compassion and wisdom elevates your spirituality. It's a resilient mind. So everything that we're doing here support your journey to resilience. Therefore, my last word, let us continue this practice together with joy and with appreciation. Thank you all for your listening.
Wow, thank you so very much, Reverend Doyeon. Oh, I see X mark, which means I need to wait because we are live streaming. So thank you, Reverend Doyeon, for your